Welcome to another episode of the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. I am so excited to be joined today by the fabulous Rezenkia Lee. Rezenkia is a raw vegan bodybuilder. And Rezenkia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I would love to find out about your journey. Like, how did you get into raw food eating, and why you were even interested in being a bodybuilder? Because that's like the athlete level to just like working out, strength training at home. So what inspired you to go in that direction?
Okay, so first, raw veganism, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, it was a journey. So my first step was, let's see, I was first eating according to my blood type, and then I began veganism in 2017, and then
So wait,
I
pause for a
became.
second. Eating for your blood type, so the blood type diet, what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So I my blood type is O negative. So I'm not sure if you're familiar or those who are familiar, but that is a high meat diet. However, I like the fact that um I was able to narrow in on what felt good for my body, and it gave me a greater awareness of how my body operated. So that was like the first step for me with my conscious eating, conscious, nutrition path, if you will. And
Okay.
so and I still find some of the recommendations for fruits and vegetables to be of good use. Um, yeah, so that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. But from there, I moved on to veganism, and that was in 2017, after getting like a bug, some type of 24-hour type bug from, I believe I got it from work, and I was down for like 3 days. And as I was recovering and coming to, I realized I wasn't wanting meat. I wasn't naturally craving any meat. So I was like, there's something to this. Like, why is it I'm not wanting any meat? So and then I was doing my research, the knives over forks. Yeah.
A forks over knives.
Forks over knives. Yes, yes. That. I watched that on YouTube. As I was getting better, that was one of the things I watched, because I was like, there's something to this. Um, but yeah, and so that happened in 2017. And then in 2020, fast forwarding, I was in started grad school, right? And I came across the 80-10-10 diet by Dr. Graham. It was one of my school materials.
Can we
And
pause for a
so,
second? So
oh, sure.
what are you in grad school for?
Oh, yeah. So I'm getting my master's in natural health and holistic nutrition, as
Nice.
well as my PhD in ND and natural orthopathic, as a natural orthopathic doctor, and natural health and holistic nutrition as well, PhD. So it's quite lengthy. It sounds like it's a lot, but it's not a
Yeah.
lot.
So it's like this
It's
whole journey of exploration with your body and the right diet that can suit you. I'm assuming like inspired this interest in nutrition.
Yeah, so I've always had an awareness in terms of comparing my body to like my family members. And I we were sharing earlier about witnessing different health concerns in our families. Well, I witnessed a lot of health concerns in my family growing up, really, really small, really young. I witnessed a lot of death growing up because of health issues, really, really young. So I was very how can I say, numb to funerals.
Wow.
So, but it was good because it allowed me to have a different perspective on death, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, so that kind of geared me to the direction of wanting to live a prosperous and a really optimal quality of life, and to be that example to show my family, like, you can do this too. We can live longer. My generation, my first cousins, like, we can do things differently. We can make better choices, and we can have better health. You know what I mean? So anywho,
Yeah.
so that's what that looked like. yeah, so it kind of stemmed from there, just wanting to do things differently for my family, for me. And so yeah, and I just kept getting more and more, how can I say, promptings of thought to follow, and I just follow those thoughts, right, and
Yeah.
interests. And then in school, undergrad, I have my degree in dance performance and choreography. So, and I've always been an athlete as well. So as a dancer, we have to be very conscious about our bodies, what we put in our bodies, all these things. So that also helped to, how can I say, magnify the level of nutrition interest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so just one step at a time, one conscious step at a time, just opened the door for other things, for more
Mm-hmm.
expansion of my interest, more expansion of, my growth for why I'm here. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. And that's the key to
Yeah.
longevity, having a sense of purpose. And so your
Mm.
story really parallels mine because it seems like your family was a source of inspiration that led you on this hero's journey of
Mm-hmm.
self-discovery, trying to find out like how do we resolve this issue? This is a huge issue that's caused some level
Mm-hmm.
of trauma in me that I want to, figure out how to resolve it, right? This is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
somehow you found Dr. Doug Graham, who's also one of my earlier teachers, and what happened since then?
Yeah, so oh man, the rest is history. So after we linked, so I looked up his information from the back of his book, The 80-10-10 Diet, and I reached out to him. Just as simple as that. I looked up his website, I reached out to him, and he responded like rapidly. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you have time to respond to me? Okay, thank you. And so that happened, and I told him what I wanted to do. Now I am gonna backtrack a bit. In 2014, I did my first bodybuilding competition, and I wasn't vegan, I wasn't raw, I was still eating meat, right? And so from that experience, I fell in love with it. But from that experience, I knew I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to approach it differently in a way that was more authentic to my ideals and who I was becoming, right?
Okay, so
And
so
yeah,
then you were doing it the way they typically do it, right? You have to
yeah,
eat a certain amount of fat, carbs, protein, and this all this animal stuff. Did you
yeah.
have like physical pain or discomfort or anything like health issues that happened from that?
No, I didn't. I just didn't like how I feel. I've always been just conscious about how my body feels. And I didn't like the way I felt inside and what I was showing externally, meaning like my mood. I wasn't the happiest person. And if you're following that, type of protocol, you go through moments of hangriness. Yeah, hangry. So I was I was very angry a lot of the time, and I didn't have any carbs, other than from like, small portions of sweet potato. I didn't have. Ah, man, it was not the best experience in that regard, but I fell in love with the sport of bodybuilding for sure. And so that's how that happened. But through that experience, one step forward, I said, you know what? Next time I do this, I'm going to be happy. It's going to be a part of my lifestyle. And here we are.
So
Yeah.
you actually reached out to Dr. D. So you've done more than I've done because well I've talked to him individually, but I remember back in 2008 I read his book 80-10-10,
Yeah.
and I think everybody should read this book, if not even just
Yeah.
for the first like chapter, the first few pages where he has the chart that explains why we're not meant to be eating meat and why we're having, our biggest killers in America is chronic disease, because we're not eating our
Mhm.
species specific diet. And he breaks down all the reasons why: the intestines, the teeth, our eyes, like, which I thought like that part of the book is like the most phenomenal part. That is like the
Yeah.
basis of what everyone needs to understand. And so you read his book, you actually called him, but why? What were you looking
Yeah.
to do with him?
Yeah, so I reached out because I had decided before reaching out to him that I wanted to do another competition. I was like, this is the year I'm going to go back and I'm going to compete again. And but I said to myself I wanted to do it differently. So as I was studying all of my other subjects in school, I'm like this. How can I say, I can't study something and it not be a part of me. So as I'm studying all this new information about, healthy living and being natural and being, raw. And I'm like, okay, how can I implement this in my life? And I just had this inkling, like, okay, so how can I also make this really fun?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna make this really, really fun. And I just felt I like challenges. And so it was initially a challenge for me to embark upon training and be raw at the same time. Because remember, I'd made that promise to myself
Mm-hmm.
in 2014 that I'm going to do it, and it's going to be natural to me, and it's going to be a part of my lifestyle. And if I decide to go on stage 2 weeks or whatnot, I find a show and I want to go on stage, I'm able to do that because I'm already in that shape. And so that was just a goal of mine. And I saw the opportunity, and I said, oh, he's going to help me do this. And yeah, he did. So that's really how it happened. I just reached out and said, this is how I work. Like I believe that life should be enjoyable, and that and it should be exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, oh, this is a challenge. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have fun. And there's nothing but pluses: benefit, 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 plus, 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 let's go. So that was my mindset. There was just nothing else to it. So let's
Yeah.
just do it. So
And that
yeah,
makes
it was
sense.
really just that simple.
He works with athletes, and his book comes from that angle of like why raw foods, and specifically 80-10-10, works really well for athletes, which makes sense. I mean,
Hmm.
you guys are burning a lot, but with bodybuilding,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
not doing so much like burning because you're building. Like you spend a lot of
Right.
time building, and then you have to shred. And I understand like where the raw foods can be very helpful with shredding, because I use raw foods as a tool with my clients all the time for shred. But for
Hmm.
build, right?
Yeah.
How, Sway? Like I know, so you had this theory like, okay, I want to do bodybuilding, and obviously you're in it to win it, and you want to do it raw. I'm pretty sure you were concerned about macros. So like what did you learn on that journey, and maybe some things you would do differently, or like how does it work?
Yeah, well, think about it. Okay, so many things to talk about, but I love a simplistic way of life, right? So I'm going to explain this very simplistically. I didn't care about it. I didn't care about it. To me, it was like, listen, I'm following my intuition, and it's saying do this, I'm just going to do it. There's nothing else to think about. That's just how I operate, right?
Mm.
So I didn't think about it when I was doing it the traditional way. Yeah, of course I was measuring everything, yada yada, boom boom boom. But this was totally different. So I was willing, and to how can I say, I was willing to take on this approach in a totally different way. I didn't count my calories. I didn't count my calories. I didn't count my macros. I didn't count any of those things. I just went off of how I felt. And I ate a lot. I ate in large quantities of fruit. And every time I felt hungry, I ate. So I ate around the clock. So that part was similar in regards to the traditional way, and being raw. I ate around the clock. I was always eating. I was always eating. But it was good. It was good fuel, and I had great pumps in the gym. I had great gains. Now, I would say this: everyone's body is different, everyone's genetics is different. So for me, I've always had like a muscular physique. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been athletic. Like I cheered, I danced, I played soccer, I wrestled in high school. I did all these different types of sports, right, from high school to college. And then after college, I've been, professional dancers, always been into my body. So I've always been athletic, right, in that sense. um I would say, based on the individual, that will dictate their quote unquote macros. In my how can I say, opinion, if they're going to do it the 80-10-10 way, that will depend on how much more fruit they may need to eat in the day or for their workout, or that may even, how can I say, change the way that their gym sessions are. That may change their actual exercises. That may change. It just depends on their physique and how much muscle mass that they're needing to gain. For me, and because of my genre, my category, which is bikini, it's a more of a natural look, and we're not, they don't want you to be overly muscular. So that was a perfect genre for me. However, I did bikini, I did fitness, and I did wellness. So I did three different categories, and they all wanted something different, and I did them all by being raw. So, but anyway, but my body type is versatile in that way where it was easy for me to make those changes. But for, someone different, that may not be the case, right? So, yeah, so I don't count the macros, any of that. The clients that I work with, I do count their calories so that they're aware of how much like quantity that they're actually eating and how that's healthy and supportive for what their goals are. I give them that information. But me personally, I really don't care. I trust myself. I trust my
Yeah.
body. I trust my mind. And I'm comfortable. I've been doing it long enough where I'm comfortable and I know what's enough and what's not enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Because for me too, when I first started with raw, like 100%, I had periods of doing 100% raw. I counted calories for sure because for me, I was concerned about wasting away. All the people I saw online, they were very skinny. I mean, they
Yeah.
weren't black, right? So just to your point about, we have
Yeah.
different body types.
Right.
On both sides of my family, obviously we're dealing with insulin resistance. We're big, and type 2 diabetes was on both sides.
Okay.
And we look at food and we gain weight. You understand? So that's like the family
Yes.
genetics that I'm working with. And so, but I felt so sure about raw foods and like what I was seeing that I was like, I just want to make sure I'm eating enough that I don't end up too weak, that I don't disappear. And
Yeah.
so for
Yeah.
sure in the beginning. And then I realized, man, I'm good because even though I was eating a sufficient, I don't think I ever hit 2,000 calories, but it was enough for my body. It
Mm-hmm.
got me to a very healthy, natural weight at 5'3", at 115, where I felt
Mm-hmm.
really good, and still it was within my healthy weight range. So I
Yeah.
totally get what you're saying, and it makes total sense, especially since you're focusing on bikini, which has different parameters around
Yeah.
muscle growth. I know in like the vegan bodybuilding community, they tend to really push TVP, seitan, all these processed foods to bump up the protein, right? Because
Yeah.
they feel it's so essential for muscle
Yeah.
building.
Yes.
But now we know
Right.
from Dr. Greger's latest book, How Not to Age, it's actually the leafy greens and actually just doing the strength training that's going to get you that effect. I want to know about your personal experience with this. Like, you made this adjustment. You've done it the way that mainstream bodybuilding has advocated and has been doing it for a while, for decades. And then you did it raw. Did you have like go-to foods that you needed to have to meet the requirement to at least have the energy to do the strength training workouts you needed to do?
I ate according to the season. So I started January in 20. Listen, it was so simplistic. It was all for me. I started 2020, January, and the first thing I started eating was bananas. I had bananas for maybe a week, 2 weeks straight, just bananas. And then after that, I think I started having what? I think it might have been like some peaches or something, some other type of fruit. Like it was really simple. I did mad mono meals. I did lots and lots of mono meals. Um, and I loved it. It was great. I'm gonna tell you something. It was like how can I say? It was just really simple. I did lots of mono meals, lots of bananas at the beginning and throughout, really. And I ate what fruit was available for that season. I ate lots of grapes too, because that's available year round, right? So that was in my regimen. Um, that's all I could think of right now. Just whatever fruit was in season during those months. And a lot of grapes and bananas. It was really just that simple. I didn't add in any vegetables until later on when I was quote unquote shredding. And those vegetables were lettuce, And I had cucumber, but of course that's a fruit. So I had cucumber and then lettuce towards the end with my fruit, but it was mainly fruit, those dense fruits like bananas. Oh, and then watermelon. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I had lots of watermelon during that season. Oh, lots of watermelon. I was mainly doing mono meals. That was my focus. He
So
had
you
me
were
on
very
mono meals.
much true to
Yeah,
80-10-10 because I didn't hear you
very
mention
much.
any nut seeds.
No, none of that. I did no real vegetables, right? And I did no seeds, no nuts. None of that.
I
Interesting,
see.
right?
Yeah, yeah. What about supplementation? Because the bodybuilders, they, claim you need all the BCAAs and all these other stuff, right? That they're having
Right,
folks take,
right.
I guess, in order to have the energy to power through
Hmm.
on the strength training. Like, did you need any specific like protein powders or anything like that?
No, it was literally, as I said, bananas, grapes, watermelon, whatever fruit that was in season during those months. That's really all I did. Really simple, dry, cut and dry, as they say, cut and dry. Yes.
And did you do progressive overload with your training?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So basically on the strength
Absolutely.
training side it was the same as when you did that standard American bodybuilding diet.
Hmm.
So you kept the training the same, kept upping the ante so you're building more muscle, um, but focused in on getting the calories from your fruit. That makes total sense because that's where you get the calories. And I think this is a very good point for folks who are concerned that they're losing too much weight on raw foods because I've heard this a lot. They're concerned about losing too much weight. They're in the middle of raw and losing weight and they don't want to lose more weight. And if you focus on the fruit, you're going to get a ton of calories because that's where all the calories are coming in. And I know we have about 6 people watching us live. So all of you watching us live, thank you so much for joining.
Yay!
Please do post any comments wherever you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you are. You could drop the comments or questions for Rezenkia while we have her to get this good, right? This juicy information. She has some wonderful photos on her Instagram too, from all of her different shows and things, right? And competitions. Because how many competitions have you done so far?
Being raw, I've done four, four.
Wow.
I have five. I've done four because I have five trophies and medals. So four because I did two different categories in one show. So yeah, four.
That's
Hmm.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, like, what would you say to people who claim that um, first of all, I've heard raw vegan diets aren't healthy, which you went on the journey and you're in school doing a doctorate, right? So,
Right.
like, clearly, according to you, you felt like not only is this healthier, but you've gone even deeper. You went through plant based all the way to raw 80-10-10, which is like I would consider probably the cleanest version of raw. Um,
Yeah.
so, to the critics who feel that raw vegan diets can't support muscle growth, I've heard people say it's an eating disorder, which is crazy to me that we're eating our original food that naturally
Yeah.
grows from the earth. But these people eat so much processed food and they're saying this is the eating disorder. So, I would
Yeah.
love to hear like what you have to say to those critics.
I would say get rid of those heavy metals in your bodies that's taking you away from your natural antennas to hear your truth. Because you're not going to truly understand what best serves you if you don't create that environment from within. So yeah.
I think we like that. We like that. I like that. Hey,
Yes.
Donna. Donna's joining us live. She says, yes, my concern is losing the weight. I do strength training 4 days a week. That's really good. Very
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I think
That's
that,
awesome.
you know, just load up on the fruit, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I know on my journey, I wasn't really training to become a bodybuilder, but in that circle to build muscle mass from a brain health perspective, it's very good for your brain, especially when you're building it in the
Yeah.
lower body, right? And so, as a creative, I care about my brain. And in that journey, you know, trying to really, I've been focusing on shredding because the building part, I don't think is really, I've always had enough excess fat on me to get the shred down, you know,
Okay.
instead of being on the other end of the spectrum where folks are trying to build because they just, don't have it to carve down.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I do know there's a lot of folks like that out here, especially folks 50 plus, 60 plus, and this is even more essential for us to be working on that muscle, especially as women, right? Because
Yeah.
women have higher rates of Alzheimer's. Muscle wasting starts once you hit menopause, right? You start to lose that muscle. And in order to maintain it and build on it, you have to strength train, right? If it's,
Yeah.
if you don't use it, you lose it, basically. Debbie says,
Yeah.
loving this video. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for joining us live.
Oh,
Nice to see you in the chat. Um, I don't know, Rezenkia. I feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much I could ask you in our final minutes together. But I guess where I would end is like, what's the one thing that you wish people knew about this diet and lifestyle to really push them, not only on the nutrition front, but really on the strength training? Because I find like a lot
yeah.
of folks are struggling with being consistent with exercise, being consistent with raw food eating. How, like, in terms of consistency, what kind of words of inspiration do you have for folks?
I believe the consistency, the discipline, and the strength first starts in your mind. So you first have to change your mindset because it doesn't matter what you decide to do physically, it's not never going to last if you did not first change and reprogram your mind. And that alone is a process. So if you're at that place where you're ready to renew and reprogram and hit the restart, refresh button mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then you're ready. But if you're not ready for that, then it's just not going to be long term or sustainable for you. But it first starts in your mind and identifying what your why is. You have to have a why. You know what I mean? Because whenever those trying moments of contrast appear, you'll be firm in your why. You'll go back to, okay, this is why I'm doing it. So it first starts in your mind, making that choice, identifying what your why is, and then
Ooh, I think you muted
can you hear
yourself.
me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're back on. I think you got frozen,
I'm
though.
not sure the last thing you heard around that.
You were talking about
Oh,
honing in
let's
on your
see.
why.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, but my I see that my image is frozen. But it's okay because you can hear my voice. So here I go. So yes, I was saying that yeah, you have to know your why. Identify what your why is. And it doesn't matter what moment of contrast may appear because it's going to happen. As long as you've identified what your why is, nothing is going to steer you away from that. You know what I mean? So it's all good. That's what I would say. Just understand what your why is, identify with that first, because it's very, very much mental more than anything else. It's mental.
Yes, yes. The mindset is the foundation. Donna is asking, Rezenkia, are you still raw or high raw?
I'm still raw all the way. I mean, for
100%.
me, it doesn't make any 100%. It doesn't make sense to me. Like I've on my beginning of my journey, I was trying to figure out, okay, what better serves me. But then once I realized this is what serves me and I'm not going back, this is it. So this is what works for me. And to be honest, if the whole world was raw, great. But that's not my purpose. My purpose is not to have the whole world be raw. That's not it. My purpose is to allow people to just understand who they are, develop a really good, true relationship with themselves. And in that, you'll be able to have a good relationship with your food and everything else that you have relations with. So that's my goal. And for me, I utilize food to do that. I utilize raw food particularly to help people become more in tune with themselves and with the food that they're eating. So everyone doesn't have to be raw, but there's so many advantages to doing so. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I
Um,
don't know if you all can tell me in the chat if the audio is still good. It sounds a little muddled to me. I can hear everything you're saying, Rezenkia. It's just not as clear as before. But
yeah.
let me know in the chat. Maybe it's just me. But I really appreciate you taking time out today to bless us with your presence, your life story. It's really inspirational, and it's just wonderful what you're doing and where you're taking it. I feel like God is guiding you, and I see you like you just seem like a fellow sister on the journey. I'm in the same boat where God is guiding me in a different path, but very
Yeah.
much started off the same way. And I think it's like following your inner guidance, because that is the call. That's your why. That's your dharma, as they say in some circles, right? Your life purpose. So you've really tapped into yours, and I can't wait to see what manifests from that. I would love to know, like, what's next for you on your journey as a raw vegan athlete and wellness coach. It looks like you're not stopping with
Yeah.
the competitions.
Yeah. 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 So oh, let's see here. So many things. Well, the first thing is I next year, I don't think they have the lineup for the shows that are available for next year just yet. But my goal is to I already have my pro card in a natural federation, but my goal is to get my pro card in the unnatural federation while being raw. And yeah, that's my goal, is to do that. So yeah, checklist. That's my next bucket list, I guess,
Yeah,
is to do that. And yeah, it's really important to me again to show people that there's other ways, there's other avenues that's healthier for you, that can sustain you. And in the bodybuilding community, I want to advocate health and longevity. You know,
that part.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
health and
See, I
longevity.
love that. I love that because you decided to do this thing that's been done in such an unhealthy manner, where they got the goal, but the sacrifices to their body and their health. I mean, is it worth it at the end of the day? You said, you know what, I want to do it different, and I'm going to release the pressure, and still you're winning. So it's like you don't have to
Yeah,
fit in a box that someone else has created. So I love that message. Where can our audience find you, follow your journey, and connect with you? I know you are offering coaching services, so let us know how we can connect with you.
for sure. So you can connect with me by my Instagram, which is Rezenka Lee, by my Facebook, which is Rezenka Lee Living, and by my YouTube page, which is the same as Facebook, Rezenka Lee Living, and by email as well, and that is zinkalee@gmail.com. So just zinkalee@gmail.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you all for joining us live. Until next time, we may not be live for the rest of the year, so Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all the good things, all right?
Yes.
Have a blessed holiday, and I'll see you next year. Thanks, Rosenka.
Thank
Bye.
you.